You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts Jon Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
Welcome back and Merry Christmas, everybody. It is Christmas Eve and we're here for another Prosper in the Kingdom. Wendy Lee, the co-host, with the host, Jon C. What's up, Jon?
Hey, what's up?
All right. So I don't normally kick us off. And Jon's like, what?
I know, I could tell it's throwing you off too. We're trying to mix it up a little bit. I'm like, hey, why don't you kick us off and start it out? So,
but I got it.
I love it. Here's the thing, folks. We're only human, just like you. So this is awesome. So keep going. Keep going. You're doing great.
So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to dig into, you guys are going to hear in the new year, us talk about this 3M wealth framework quite often. And it's really simple. It's not anything like super intense or fancy. But when I started working with what?
Don't sell it short, man. It's keep it simple. It's awesome. It's not fancy. I mean, there's no like doilies around it or anything. I mean, we are in the Christmas season, but no, I think the whole 3M concept it's all about keeping it simple and really kind of showing that anybody can do this, guys. And this is the brainchild of Wendy popped this out last year, and we developed it together and kind of went into I guess this year, make, manage, and multiply. And so Wendy, do not sell this short. This is some simple but powerful
simple.
stuff.
And simplicity is good. And one thing that I prior to meeting Jon, my finances were chaos. So I don't know if anyone can relate that your money is chaos. And God is a God of order. And for us to be good stewards, we have to have order to what we're doing. And especially when it comes to our money. And I know, we have two extremes. I feel like people fall into one of two categories out there. They're like the super analytical. They know where every dollar goes. They pay attention. They watch their money all the time. And then there's people like I tend to lean, which is like, I'm just going to do what I need to do and hope it all works out. Now, I don't do that now because I know better. But that's my tendency, right? So anyway, we have been digging in. We're calling we've put a name to our framework, which is the 3M wealth framework, which is about making money because cash flow is important, right? Mm-hmm. We've got to have more coming in than what goes out, right? Managing it, understanding what to do with your money when it comes in the door, the right way, being good stewards, and then multiplying it by understanding how the wealthy are getting wealthier, right? What are the rules of the game? And so anyway, sometimes that progress that you're making might feel slow, or at the end of the year, you might be going in the year going, I've got to get out of debt. It's been on my to-do list for 3 years, right?
Well, so and I think that's one of the, the core challenges. I mean, there's so much noise out there. And, one of the things that we always talk about here at Prosper in the Kingdom is, put a plan in place and then follow through on the plan, right? Enact the plan, follow through with action. And a lot of the financial plans that are going on, or financial, call them whatever you want, especially in the traditional investment strategies, companies that are out there, most plans fail because they solve too many problems at once, right? And what we're not saying is do one thing and then the other, because you waste a lot of time with that. We've talked about that before, right? Mm-hmm. But, one of the challenges is they don't look at everything holistically. And that's really the kind of the core, the foundation of Prospering the Kingdom, if you will, is looking at everything holistically. So you see a picture of what's going on across your financial landscape, not just one segment at a time, right? You get a lot of these traditional companies that say, okay, we need to, you're behind the 8 ball on building wealth, building for retirement. So let's invest aggressively. Meanwhile, you're still living paycheck to paycheck, right? So the stress never goes away. You're told to save without clarity around, your priority or your purpose. I mean, I'm amazed at the number of people we talk to that haven't even really thought, how much money do you want coming in each month during retirement? I have no idea, right? They don't even think about it. Yeah, and it's like, and they're already working with a financial advisor, and it's like, how is
Yeah.
that not part of the conversation? So you're just kind of hoping it all happens. What I think happens is they realize that, okay, that's probably not going to happen, so they just say, hey, let's just put their money in this, and the
Right.
time will figure it out, which is the total wrong approach. But what all this creates is internal tension because you don't really feel like you've got a solution in place. You're just doing something, but is it the right thing? Is it enough of the thing, or is it fixing all the other underlying problems, or are you just treating the symptoms, right?
Yeah.
And so most of those money decisions become reactive. And so your stress stays elevated. And any kind of disruption that happens, whether it's a job loss or unexpected expenses, car breaks down, whatever, all of that throws you in a little bit of a chaos and knocks you backwards. So it's like you're taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward.
Yeah.
And scripture speaks directly to this. In Luke 14:28, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost? Meaning you want to achieve something, you first sit down and plan it out.
Right.
Understand what it's going to take, time, money, all that stuff. And it's not about the construction, because it's talking about building a tower, but it's about order, having an order to what you're doing. Not order like 1, 2, 3, but order. I guess that could be part of it, but
Yeah.
it's planning comes before building. Structure comes before growth. And I'm here to tell you, folks, money is no different. And that's the whole core message behind this 3M wealth framework that Wendy and I are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about making it like super complicated. Right. And honestly, money doesn't have to be complicated. It's very simple. It's just, to your point, John, especially like in the past, before sitting down with you, I would sit down with a financial advisor, and it's literally like, oh, you need to have, I don't know where they come up with the number. We need to shoot for $1 million in retirement years. So here's how much you need to be putting away, and here's where you should put it. Okay. Right. Like there was not a ton of conversation and not clarity around why.
Yeah, very little education.
Right. And I think that's why people hesitate, is because there's no clarity. Without clarity, and in the presence of confusion, we don't take action. Right. So clarity and simplicity is where we can take action. And so, when we have things, when we have an order, when we have a plan in place, I know for me, when I went through and had my own financial plan put together by you, it was, here are the steps. Here's the way we're attacking this. We need to get here, but we're not there today. We're here. So here's how we're going to baby step it up to where you need to be in the future. And when you have that, all your decisions feel less stressful, right? And you can create stability in your day-to-day and how you're handling your money. And then that momentum can compound over time. So what we want for you guys is to have a simple, repeatable framework, right? And when you can do something on repeat and get comfortable, it becomes powerful.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too. I just want to, stress what she's talking about there is, a lot of traditional advisors out there, and they're good and they're bad. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody in particular, but what I've seen and what I've had, clients that have come over from other institutions, what they said is, they talk away over my head and they just start throwing these things out. And it's like, okay, you need to do this. They don't understand why. And what happens, it's okay. Well, this person is apparently smarter than I am. So they give me all these tools. We created these accounts and all these different strategies, but I still don't understand what's going on. And that's where it's so critical. Keep it simple, keep it moving, right? But have a plan in place. And all of that is going to, make the decisions feel lighter. It's going to create less stress, and you're going to feel like, okay, I have a true plan that I understand. And now we're taking action, but we're not just treating symptoms. We're not just throwing money in the market. We're actually have a plan to increase our income, make more wealth, right? And, manage that wealth better, getting market returns that are, driven by S&P or whatever the case may be, all the different indices that are out there, protecting it against market loss, and then setting ourselves up for, a big tax win down the road as we access these tax-free. So that's the big win. And you have that plan in place. And all of a sudden now wow, this seems simple. It's almost too good to be true. We just had a client last week. why doesn't everybody approach it like this? It's like, well, this is how we do it. It should be like that, but unfortunately it's not. So
Yeah.
that is the 3M framework. So kind of diving into that a little bit. What is it? What does all that 3M framework mean? Well, obviously 3M, make, manage, multiply. There's three words. So that's where the three came from. That was my add to the whole thing. But you look at the 3M framework, basically it organizes your financial progress into distinct phases, right? Now, it's not a one step, it's not the baby steps you may have heard from others, but it's three different areas. Think of it like that Triton, right? Napoleon, that's how he did so well. If you're a history nerd like me, he used a three-prong attack, right? And that's what we look at, a three-prong attack on your money. So it's not, it's not philosophy. It's not, a mindset exercise. It's just, this is an operating sequence. This is how we're looking at it. How do we make more money? How do we manage it better? And how do we multiply it? Okay.
Right.
KISS, keep it simple, silly, right?
Yeah.
But, each phase of this supports each other, right? So it's looking at everything holistically, and we don't want to just focus on one and not another, right? We don't want to focus on just making more, because that's what most of us, let's be honest, that's what most of us do in middle America.
Yeah.
We've done a multitude of videos on this. You were just coaching a client the other day and I was sitting in on it. And I just keep making more money. I keep making more money, and it's not going anywhere. It's because we're not managing it better,
Yeah.
right? And then we're not taking the seeds that we have and multiplying those seeds, right? And that's unfortunately the trap we fall into in middle class. Is how do I solve the problems? Just make more money.
Right.
Okay. Well, no, that's not how it works. So let's kind of walk through each phase, kind of at a high level. And keep in mind, this is not 1, 2, 3. This is a three-prong attack, and it's different. You're running them concurrently,
Right.
not sequentially. So take
Exactly.
the first one. Let's jump into it, Wendy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about making money, right? Before your budgeting strategies and your debt plans and all that, you need to understand your cash flow. You need to understand what's coming in, what's going out. And most people, when we're focused just on the make more, like Jon was just talking about, make more money, and you're not looking at how to manage it, not looking how to multiply it, then it becomes its own cycle of make, right? Like that's all I'm doing. And some people, it's really, like Jon said, that three-prong approach, when we get into what to do with your money, it makes the making piece not so stressful sometimes. But what we've got to do is understand, where do we have margin? Because without margin, you're not going to make changes, right? So whether that's, you have two ways to do that. You increase income or decrease your expenses, right?
Or a combination of both.
Or a combination of both, ideally, right? And so when we walk people through a financial plan, that's the first thing we look at, is what do you have coming in versus what do you have going out? Where can we maybe peel back? Like, we don't see it as much, but for a little while, man, that DoorDash was really costing people some money. But,
yeah, guys, don't get me wrong. If you got, you got a situation, you got a party going on, you need somebody to deliver it. Or I have seen the commercials where the guy's trying to thaw the turkey with a hair dryer. That's funny. Good marketing. But come on, you don't need DoorDash, right?
Yeah. So we find these areas to cut expenses, but then also, and a lot of times you've got to increase the income. I know, especially in today's economy, we've got to increase the income. We talked about that a little bit last week. But you can't manage your finances when you literally don't have any margin, to deal with. And so what are those things you can do? Leverage your skills, create side income, figure out how to add to that bottom line. And then concurrently, right, we want you to learn how to manage the money well. I'll let you kind of dig into that, Jon.
Yeah. And just, to clarify, we've got listeners from all kinds of backgrounds. So if you're not sure, okay, well, what does she mean when she says margin, right? It's not margarine, right? We're not talking butter here. We're talking money. I guess that can be butter. You could call it street cred butter. I don't know. But looking at, it's how much money am I make minusing my expenses. So you can either have a positive margin, which is what you want, meaning you're making quite a bit more than you're spending, or you've got a negative margin, which, let's face it, some people are just bad money managers, right? They don't manage their money well, and they're not balancing their books and stuff like that. And sometimes there's more month than money. And so you got a negative margin at that. So it's really critical that, making money is great. And there's so many ways to make money out there, folks. So we just did a video on this, I think it was last week, where we were talking about making an extra $500,000. There's so many ways to do that, but you don't want to just make more money. You want to also look at where can I cut expenses, right? DoorDash, don't get me wrong. DoorDash is great business model, but do you need to do it every day? Probably not, right? There's a time and a place. Do I need to go out and buy name brand X, or can I get by with, generic or whatever the case may be? There's all kinds of ways that you can do it. And so that's why holistically you want to look at and it's going to help you become a better steward too. But, turning that income into stability, once you have that margin in place, and it could be as little as $500, $1,000 a month. If you haven't seen that video or listened to that podcast from last week, go back, hit pause, go back and listen to that one. You'll understand what we're talking about. But once that margin exists, all of a sudden the management becomes possible, right? And this phase focuses on cash flow clarity, again, diving in, where's my money coming from and where's it going to, and what risks do I have of my income streams? And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're trying to build wealth with just one income stream, you're setting yourself up for a possible, storm. I'm just going to put it that way. Multiple streams of income, right? So get clarity around your cash flow, reduce that debt, i.e., lower expenses, and behavioral alignment, right? Does what you're doing align? One of the things I challenge our clients with is, as they're going out and getting control of their financial spending, ask yourself, does this purchase move me closer to or further away from my financial goals? And that helps remove the emotion out of it, right? But I want you to understand that, being a good money manager, being a good steward of your money isn't restrictive, okay? It's stabilizing. It's stabilizing, right? And always keep in mind, and I'll say this once, I'll say it 1,000 times, Proverbs 22:7, the borrower is slave to the lender, because they're taking your future income in the form of interest and everything else. You've already spent that money, and you probably don't even know what you bought if you're using credit cards and things like that. So get that monkey off your back, so to speak. But not only just your debt, like credit cards and things like that, but look at do I need 20 streaming services, right? Do I need all of that? Do I need, the newest car? Do I need, there's all these different things. Is it a need or is it a want, right? In reducing those financial obligations, it's not just about austerity, it's about positioning yourself to have less stress. We all want less financial stress, right? To release yourself from having possibly more time on your hands, because you're not forced to work overtime or work those Saturdays or whatever the case may be. But by doing all of this, you're removing that friction so growth doesn't collapse in the event that some kind of pressure event happens later. And it happens, folks. You know it. I know it. Look back in your past. Curveballs come with life. That's just part of the equation, right? And if you're sitting there where you're just living on the edge, that's going to push you over. And so you don't want to do that. So by removing all this friction, your growth happens. And even in those challenging times of pressure, right? You just keep moving on. You're just moving and grooving, right? So this phase creates that stability, and that stability is what allows long-term plans to actually work. So,
and in this too, this is not something that I really made a great practice at, and I've gotten better with it. And this is along with stewardship, right? But is that every dollar that comes in, you're not turning around and spending a dollar, right? If you're just looking at $1 at a time, you divide up those dollars. Because for you to get to the next phase, you've got to have, with that margin, right? Every dollar that comes in, we read a book that talks about different percentages, and there's lots of books out there, but what percent is going to giving, what percent is going to your saving and your investing, and what percent are you going to live on? And we live in a society today that, people are like, oh, I got a bonus, I have this much more to spend, right? Like that's the built-in mentality that most of us have. And, I, got to increase this year, so now I can get a nicer car.
And if I can just interject real quick, here is a perfectly timed Christmas example. It's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, right? And so what happened in that? He got his Christmas bonus. He was all excited about it. He was doing, the food additives or whatever, and he was expecting his Christmas bonus. And what was he going to do with it? Put in a pool. All right. And not only that, if there's enough left over, I'm going to fly everybody back so they can look at my new pool. Right. And what happened? Company made cuts. Hey, that happens, folks. And what did he
You
get?
got a ham,
12
right?
month subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh,
Right.
jelly.
Jelly of the Month Club. I love that movie. And it's perfect timing because we're at Christmas here.
Yeah.
So, again, you don't know what's going to happen. And he had already spent that money. It's all
Yeah.
it's in the marketing we face, guys. It's in the way we're raised, the way we're taught about money or not taught about money, how it works. And I guarantee, a rich person was going to spend 100% of their bonus to go build a pool, right? Don't get me wrong, have some fun with that stuff, but a little fun. And then stack the rest of it, because that's going to grow into seeds. It's going to multiply for you. And that's really where the freedom comes in. So I'm sorry, when you keep going.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I know I want you to talk about multiplying, but I just want to say this, that it's not until I understood how you can multiply money and how you can truly grow it, like with what we talk about protected asset classes. It's not some like risk game, like I stick it in the market and I hope at the end of my working years, I'm like good to go. But like to have where you're getting market gains, you're protected against loss. And the way that we work, the I don't even know how product system, I don't know. The way that we put these plans together, that at the end, like I'm like, oh, I can put this away. And at the, in 20, 25 years, this is what I can come out with. And this is how I can use it. And it makes the management piece more exciting to me. Because it's like when you have that clarity of how you can multiply, then you're like, okay, now I want to be better at managing. And I don't want the immediate gratification because I know what this can do long term. Anyway, I wanted to throw that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, and again, keeping it simple, right? True wealth building relies on really three things. Number one is consistency. And so, we talk about, there are others out there that talk about you got to do this one thing and then you do the next thing and the next thing. And what happens? You end up wasting a lot of time, right? And because you're doing all these other things, it's like, I'm gonna do my garden. Well, you got to do this, and then you got to do this. And by the time July rolls around, then you're ready to plant your seed. Okay, you're not going to have a crop at that point because you've wasted all the growing season, right? So what you do is you start, one area while you're starting the second and the third. And so maybe you start investing or whatever, you start much smaller, but as you get your other pieces in order, debt paid off, emergency fund, things like that, now you're able to increase what you started from day one, which is, building the wealth. And that's taking advantage of the compounding time, right? And then also, so you got consistency, starting, being consistent. This is what's going in. I'm paying myself first, right? Secondly is the time piece that we just talked about, maximizing the time. And some of us are getting a little later start, right? Maybe you're in your 40s and like, oh, I should probably get serious about that. Maybe you're in your 50s. It's still possible, but you've got to take action now and you got to get a plan in place and start making some moves, right? And lastly is the protection piece. So many people, we follow the traditional, put it in the market, hope it works out. It's like your fingers crossed, there's some up years and down years. Every time there's a down years, folks, it's not the 1 year you lost the money. It's the 2 or 3 it takes to get back. You lose that too. Because getting growth after you've lost the money is not really growing your money. Okay, so here's my example I use for people. So let's say you're a blackjack person. I don't gamble. I joke with my friends. I went up to a blackjack table one time and literally, oh, you're going to sit down? No, I'm just going to watch you guys. Or I should just hand him $100 because that's what would happen. Oh, no, sit down. Sure. Now, 5 moves later, I was $100 down. I said, see, and I walked away. And that was literally the last time I ever did it, more as a joke. But, you look at that $100. I lose that $100. Well, if I win the next 3 hands and I'm up 20, 20, 20, man, I got 3 hands in a row. I'm a winner. You're still down. And so you lose all that time. But a true plan of growing wealth intentionally, it protects against loss. You're consistent in your actions, right? And you build it over time and you get in as much time as you can, right? It's not rushed. It's not speculative. Psalm 112:3. I got notes here. It says, wealth and riches are in his house and his righteousness endures forever. Wealth isn't unbiblical. There are more phrases about money in the Bible. Hear me on this. There are more phrases about money in the Bible than there are about love. Okay. And you can Google that. Check me on that. I'm telling you, it's true. And, so the whole piece about wealth and, oh, I shouldn't. No, you should. God wants to bless you. I'm not talking prosperity gospel here. God wants to bless you. He will put opportunities into you, but it's up to you to take that action, right? We're trying to help you by keeping it simple with this 3M wealth framework. So, as we kind of wrap up here a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about, actually, Wendy, if you would talk about why that wealth framework, as simple as it is. I think you kind of undersold it at the beginning, but as simple as it is, why does it work?
Yeah. Well, because it's based on like reality, right? It's not obscure. It's like, it's reality, right? And margin will come before discipline. The reason some people stay stuck in the cycle of not having money is because they're literally getting behind every single month.
Yeah.
Right? They've got to make more money. There's a lot of people out there, especially in today's economy. I feel like this wasn't true 10 years ago, but now it's like, I feel like I see people over and over and over that are just, they literally can't, their job doesn't keep up with the inflation.
Well, and that's what happened. I mean, it existed 10 years ago. It existed 20 years ago, but I think everybody's on the edge now. Yeah. And so any little wind knocks down a house of cards.
Right.
And that's the wind with a D, not win. But that's what is going on, I think. And it's more relevant, which is why it's so critical to have a plan in place and, keep it simple and, look to work with a company. And it doesn't have to be us, folks, but look to work with a company that's going to look holistically at it and get you past those financial frustrations, right?
Yeah. And then, the other thing is discipline precedes growth. I've learned this the hard way, that the Lord does want to bless you, but he's not going to bless you with more until he can trust you with what you have.
Yep.
And then once you have that growth, it will come, right? Once you get the discipline in place and then you get clear on your goals, then growth is inevitable. And so most of that financial frustration that we have isn't caused by us not trying hard enough, right? Or us not being smart enough. It's because we're not following a process, because there's chaos instead of order. And people are trying to multiply before they even know how to manage it. I mean, I've done that, back when I started making big money. I'm like, oh, let me invest in this. Even if it was my own business, let me invest in this. Let me invest in that. And I hadn't even gotten a hold on some of the basics of building, John calls it a war chest for my business, and I'm just going to give you a real life example. I had a payment made to me of $20,000 a couple of years ago. That was money owed to me, but I got this payment unexpectedly. And instead of me being super structured on here's what I should do with this money to set myself up to not be panicking in 6 months and to set myself up for success, I'm like, oh, I'm going to invest it in XYZ and multiply it. But I didn't have my money management under control. So instead of me multiplying, it wound up being just wasted money. And so that's why it's so important that you're focused on all three of these. But people try, again, to multiply before they manage and try to manage before they make any margin. And then you blame yourself for being careless with money or not good enough. And then it just creates a cycle of defeat. And so it's simple when you just start to say, okay, I am in charge of my money. My money is not in charge of me. Right. And of course, the faith side of it, Lord, this is your money. So help me to manage it the way you would want me to, instead of just moving on like I can do whatever I want. So again, start with making money, understanding that you need to have positive margin, manage it well. That's one thing I love about what we do is we do that full financial plan and we can show you exactly where your money needs to be going, right? And then find the strategies that you can put in place to get your money making money, which is the ultimate goal, and move you towards true freedom, true wealth, and even true legacy.
Yeah. So again, folks, we just wanted to take this episode and really take an opportunity to introduce the 3M wealth framework to you. Like I said, you're going to be hearing a lot about it in the coming weeks. We're going to break down each phase again, and applications and stuff like that. Talking about why income strategy is the most misunderstood part of the financial progress. But again, the goal isn't perfection; it's structure. Okay, and everybody's different out there. There is no one size fits all, right? And that's why it's critical when working with a company that you have somebody that's looking at what your situation is, not, oh, everybody's doing this, and this is the one size fits all, it'll work for you too. Maybe, I don't know, kind of don't approach it like that, right?
Put it in mutual funds and get 12%.
Yeah. So again, structure, apply consistency, changes, outcome, right? That's just it. If you want help identifying yourself, like Wendy said, we'd love to give you a free financial plan. Do something with it or not, completely your call. Get your free financial roadmap at safemoneyroadmap.com. I'll put the links in the comments below. But again, it's not about doing everything at once, right? It's about getting a plan and starting moving the ball. And you're going to crawl before you walk. You're going to walk before you run. But unless you start moving, it's never going to change, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about stewardship, clarity, and momentum. And together we can help you build a 2026 to remember, right? So do us a favor. Again, tomorrow is Christmas. I hope you and your family have a very Merry Christmas and safe travels if you're out on the roads or flying through the airports or whatever. But do us a favor. Give us a little Christmas love here. Give us a like. And do us a favor. Share this on your social media. Share this episode on your social media and encourage others to watch us too. We put this information out here just to kind of help. As a matter of fact, we've added LinkedIn. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, you're actually going to see articles that dive a little deeper on these sessions that we do. So check those out as well. And then again, follow us on your social media platform of choice, whether it's Instagram or Pinterest. I think we're on Pinterest as well. And then obviously Facebook. So everybody, Wendy, have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next week on another Prosper in the Kingdom. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.